Have you ever felt like modern dating isn't just difficult, but fundamentally broken? Like no matter what you do, the rules keep shifting, the expectations keep rising, and somehow you're always the one paying the price. This isn't bad luck, and it's not about choosing the wrong people. It's about a system that quietly rewards dysfunction. You've probably noticed something. Maybe you've lived it, maybe you've watched friends get chewed up by it. Maybe you've just been paying attention to the patterns playing out all around you. There's this growing sense that modern dating is flooded with entitlement, materialism, and a kind of cold selfishness that wasn't always this normal. And a lot of men keep circling back to the same question: why? The first dates where she orders the most expensive thing on the menu and expects you to cover it like it's a given. No thanks, no acknowledgement. The relationships where her needs are treated like emergencies, but yours are treated like suggestions. The breakups where somehow you're always the villain no matter what actually happened. The dating profiles that read like a contract full of demands and somehow nothing offered in return. But here's what most people get wrong. They think this is about individual women making individual choices. They think it's about finding the good ones versus the bad ones. They think the solution is just being more selective, or changing your game, or learning the right lines. They're missing the bigger picture. What if what you're seeing isn't random? What if the entitlement, the materialism, the dysfunction, what if all of it is being actively encouraged? Not by some secret cabal in a dark room, but by something way simpler and way more powerful: economics. Today we're going to talk about why modern dating feels broken, why so many relationships look doomed before they even start, and why the system itself might be designed to keep you frustrated, dependent, and alone. This isn't about blaming women. This is about understanding the game that everybody is being pushed into playing. Let's start with a truth that reframes everything. The system isn't targeting you personally. It's not targeting men specifically. It's not even aware you exist as an individual. The system, by which I mean the combined machinery of governments, corporations, media, and cultural institutions, runs on one basic principle: economic incentive. Things happen when they're profitable, things don't happen when they're not. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just how large systems behave. Nobody has to be evil in a coordinated way for the outcome to feel designed. The cumulative effect of millions of profit-driven decisions creates results that look intentional. And once you understand that, the behaviors you're seeing in modern dating start making sense. Not because women are inherently greedy or rude, but because the culture itself is being shaped by forces that benefit from dysfunction. The real question isn't, why are there so many problematic people? The real question is, what is manufacturing them? Here's an uncomfortable economic truth. Relationship instability generates more economic activity than stability. Think about what happens when a long-term relationship ends. 2 households instead of 1, 2 rents or mortgages, 2 sets of furniture, 2 sets of utilities. Suddenly you've got lawyers getting paid, therapists getting paid, relocation costs, subscription spikes, and yes, dating apps get fresh customers. There's a whole breakup industrial machine that wakes up the second a couple falls apart. Now compare that to what a stable long-term relationship produces economically. Shared expenses, fewer purchases, less consumption, more saving. From a purely economic standpoint, a happy couple is less profitable than 2 miserable singles chasing connection like it's oxygen. That doesn't mean anyone is sitting there sabotaging relationships on purpose, but it does mean there's no major incentive to promote stability. Media doesn't benefit when you're content. Apps don't benefit when you find the one. Dating apps don't want you to meet your person. They want you to keep swiping. Social media doesn't want you calm and grounded in a relationship. It wants you scrolling, comparing, feeling inadequate, and buying things to fill the hole. The dysfunction you're experiencing isn't a bug, it's a feature. Look at the wedding industry alone. Billions of dollars spent on a ceremony that lasts a few hours for marriages that increasingly don't last a few years. Nobody profits from telling you to keep it simple. Everybody profits from convincing you that you need the perfect dress, the perfect venue, the perfect photographer, the perfect experience. And then, if the marriage crashes, the divorce industry is standing right there like, "Welcome, we've been expecting you."
That creates a culture where transaction is emphasized over relationship, where the wedding matters more than the marriage, where the appearance of love generates more revenue than the reality of it. It's like we've built an economy around romance as a product, not romance as a bond. Want proof the system can move fast when it wants to? Look at how quickly things shifted during the pandemic. In weeks, entire economies were restructured, laws changed, behavior mandates rolled out, trillions mobilized, supply chains redirected. The machinery of government and industry proved it can pivot on a dime when there's enough incentive. Now compare that to issues affecting families and relationships. Divorce reform? Decades of slow motion. Family court bias? Still a waiting room. Support systems for struggling fathers? Minimal movement. Mental health resources for men? Underfunded and overlooked. The disparity tells you everything. The system can act quickly when it wants to. It just doesn't want to act on these problems because there's no profit in solving them. Broken families create consumers. Lonely people buy more. Anxious people are easier to steer. Stable, content, connected people are economically inconvenient. That's not cynicism, that's observation. Now pay attention to what gets normalized in pop culture. Not what gets argued about loudly, but what gets quietly accepted as just how it is. Shows that glorify chaotic relationships, music that celebrates materialism and transactional dynamics, social media that rewards provocation over substance, platforms where explicit content becomes the fastest path to income for young women, dating shows that treat relationships like a competition, like a game show with eliminations. None of this is accidental in effect, because it's profitable. When a young woman learns she can make more money in a month from provocative content than she could make in a year at a normal job, what lesson does she absorb about her value? When relationship chaos gets millions of views, but quiet stability gets ignored, what behavior gets reinforced? The culture isn't just reflecting human nature, it's shaping it, and it's shaping it towards what serves economic interests, not human flourishing.
So the rude and greedy behaviors you're encountering aren't just popping out of nowhere. They're being cultivated, rewarded, and normalized. Think about what a young woman can absorb from mainstream culture by the time she's 25. She's been told she's a queen who deserves everything. She's been told that standards mean demands. She's been told men should prove themselves through spending. She's been shown that attention equals value, and that the more attention she can command, the more she's worth. None of that prepares anyone for real partnership. It prepares people for extraction. And here's the part people don't want to admit. The same culture is doing something parallel to men, teaching them that their value is what they provide, that love must be earned through performance, that they should accept whatever treatment they get because they're lucky someone chose them. Both genders are being programmed, just in different directions, and the end result is incompatibility. Society still sells an idealized vision of marriage. Two people building a life, growing old together, creating stability for children and community. But that vision is economically incompatible with the modern system. A stable marriage doesn't generate much churn. Two people share resources, live within their means, save for the future. They're not constantly burning money on coping mechanisms. Divorce, on the other hand, is an economic bonanza. Legal fees, asset division, two households, child support payments flowing through the system, therapy for everyone involved, dating expenses as both parties try again. Sometimes multiple rounds of this, with second and third marriages failing at even higher rates. The system says it wants you to find lasting love. The incentives tell a different story. That's why culture pushes unrealistic expectations. That's why it glamorizes the endless search for something better. That's why commitment gets framed as settling, not because somebody hates marriage, but because instability is simply more profitable than stability. Now let's talk about something a lot of men feel but hesitate to say out loud: the sense of being exploited. Modern dating can feel like a one-way transaction. Men are expected to provide financially, emotionally, practically, while the expectations in the other direction often feel minimal or optional. He pays for dates, but suggesting otherwise makes him cheap. He provides emotional support, but when he has emotional needs, he's too much. He's expected to lead, but leading is controlling. He's expected to be vulnerable, but vulnerability makes him weak.
The rules feel like a rigged game. Whatever he does is wrong. Whatever he gives isn't enough. The goalposts move constantly. That frustration is real, but where it comes from matters. These dynamics aren't created only by individual women being malicious. They emerge from a culture that teaches everyone conflicting, broken scripts about what relationships should be. Everybody's showing up with instructions written by people who don't have to live with the consequences. The exploitation isn't personal, it's systemic, and recognizing that is step one in learning how to navigate it. Here's something that doesn't get said enough. Men's emotional vulnerability makes them susceptible to dysfunctional dynamics. Men fall hard. When a man becomes emotionally attached, he can get irrational. He'll tolerate treatment he'd never accept anywhere else. He'll sacrifice things that destroy his own well-being. He'll stay in situations that are obviously toxic because the attachment overrides his judgment. That vulnerability is human, but it's also exploitable. And in a culture that doesn't teach men how to manage their emotions in relationships, it becomes a liability. Men are told to be stoic, to suppress, to handle it. Then they experience romantic attachment, one of the strongest emotional forces humans can feel, without tools to navigate it. The result is codependency, desperation, poor decisions, and a willingness to accept what should be unacceptable. Understanding this isn't about blaming men or excusing bad behavior from partners. It's about recognizing that emotional intelligence and self-awareness are survival skills in modern dating. The man who understands his attachment patterns, who can spot when he's spiraling, who has the ability to walk away from situations that don't serve him, that man is protected in ways his emotionally unaware counterpart isn't. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about learning to love without losing yourself, to connect without becoming dependent, to give without being depleted. There's a narrative that's been sold to men for generations. Be a gentleman, sacrifice for her, put her needs first, give up everything in a divorce because that's what a real man does, provide endlessly because that's your role. That narrative made more sense in a different era, when there was social reciprocity, when sacrifice flowed both directions, when the deal was mutual. But the narrative didn't update even as the social contract changed completely. Men are still expected to sacrifice like it's 1950, while receiving none of the respect, loyalty, or reciprocity that 1950 demanded in return. The obligations remained, but the benefits evaporated. The gentleman myth isn't about virtue anymore. It can become a tool for extracting compliance from men who haven't realized the deal changed. It keeps men giving while receiving less and less. This isn't an argument against being a good person, it's an argument for being a wise one. Generosity should be mutual. Sacrifice should be reciprocal. Outdated narratives should be examined, not blindly obeyed. The man who gives endlessly while receiving nothing isn't a gentleman, he's a mark. The man who sacrifices his well-being for someone who wouldn't endure a minor inconvenience for him isn't noble, he's being exploited. True virtue requires wisdom, being generous with people who deserve generosity, being loyal to people who are loyal to you, and reserving sacrifice for relationships where sacrifice flows both ways. The gentleman myth strips wisdom out of virtue and turns it into blind compliance. That's not character, that's programming. Now let's talk about what's influencing the people you're trying to date. There's an entire industry of influencers, pseudo-psychologists, and relationship experts whose business model depends on keeping their audience anxious, single, and glued to content. They push unrealistic standards. They teach women to interpret every male behavior as a red flag. They frame normal relationship friction as abuse. They validate every grievance while demanding zero self-reflection. They tell women they deserve everything while owing nothing. That content gets engagement because it tells people what they want to hear. Your problems are someone else's fault. Your standards are perfect no matter how unrealistic. You're a victim rather than a participant. And the result is a generation entering relationships with warped expectations, trained to see threats everywhere, primed to bail at the first sign of difficulty. The influencers win, the platforms win, the people consuming the content end up alone and confused, wondering why connection feels impossible.
When you meet someone with impossible standards, constant suspicion, and zero accountability, ask yourself what they've been consuming. The programming runs deep. And this isn't unique to women. Men have their own version of toxic influence. Content that promotes using women, avoiding commitment, treating relationships like pure transaction. The manosphere can be just as damaging to healthy relationship formation as the female empowerment industrial complex. Both sides are being fed content that makes them worse partners. Both sides are being trained to see the other as the enemy instead of a potential ally. Influencers profit from conflict. Platforms profit from engagement. Real people end up alone, wondering why intimacy feels like a dead language. This dysfunction isn't abstract, it has real casualties. Divorce rates remain stubbornly high. Single-parent households keep increasing. Kids grow up without fathers or with fathers they barely see. Men's mental health deteriorates in silence. Male suicide rates remain dramatically higher than female rates, and divorced men are often at particularly high risk. These aren't just statistics, these are lives. The breakdown of family structures, the erosion of meaningful connection, the epidemic of loneliness, these are symptoms of something deeply wrong. Not wrong with individuals, but wrong with the culture producing these outcomes at scale. When a system reliably produces bad outcomes, the system is the problem. Blaming individuals for navigating a broken system poorly misses the point. And here's the part that's easy to overlook. Women aren't winning either, even if it sometimes looks like they have the leverage. The same system that teaches entitlement also teaches them to delay commitment until it's too late. It tells them their value is unlimited when in reality, life changes things. It encourages them to hold out for perfection, even though perfection doesn't exist. The result is record numbers of women in their late 30s and 40s who are single, childless, and genuinely confused about how they got there. They followed the script they were handed, and the script failed them. Everyone is losing, except the people making money off the dysfunction. So what does a healthy relationship look like in this environment? It starts with equality, not scorekeeping, but mutual investment. Both people bring value. Both people sacrifice. Both people contribute to building something together. It requires emotional control, not suppression, but management. The ability to feel intensely without being controlled by feelings. The ability to have difficult conversations without everything turning into a crisis. It demands responsibility. Both people owning their actions, their contributions to problems, their role in making things better. No one gets to be the permanent victim while the other is the permanent villain. It needs realistic expectations, understanding no person meets every need, that relationships take work, that the fantasy sold by culture is neither achievable nor even healthy. It's built on reliability, showing up, doing what you say, being someone your partner can count on when life gets messy. None of this is complicated, but it runs directly against what modern culture promotes. Finding someone who lives by these principles means filtering through a lot of people who've been programmed differently. The good news is, people who want healthy relationships tend to find each other eventually. When you operate from these principles, you repel people who don't share them and attract people who do. The filtering is painful, but it works. The key isn't lowering your standards to match the dysfunction. The key is raising yourself to deserve the standards you hold. A big reason modern dating feels so chaotic is the absence of shared guidelines. The old rules, traditional gender rules, clear expectations, social enforcement, have been largely dismantled. And regardless of how you feel about those old rules, they provided structure. People knew what was expected. There was at least a shared framework. What replaced them? Nothing coherent. We demolished the old structure and never built a new one. Now everyone is improvising. Everyone is operating on different assumptions, following different scripts, often not even realizing their script doesn't match their partner's. He thinks he's supposed to lead, she thinks leadership is oppression. She thinks he should express emotions, he was taught emotions are weakness. He expects partnership, she expects to be pursued indefinitely. The mismatches are endless. Until culture develops new shared frameworks, or until individuals consciously create their own, this chaos continues.
Every relationship becomes a negotiation from scratch with no shared starting point. That's exhausting, and it explains a lot of the conflict you're seeing. So the solution, at least on the individual level, is to be explicit about your own framework. Communicate clearly what you expect, what you offer, what you need. Find partners who share or, at minimum, respect your operating principles. The couples who make it now are usually the ones who consciously negotiated their own rules instead of assuming shared understanding. They had the awkward conversations. They made the implicit explicit. They built their own framework because culture failed them. Here's where we land. The system is broken, and it's not going to fix itself anytime soon. Economic incentives will keep rewarding dysfunction, culture will keep normalizing chaos, influencers will keep poisoning expectations. The machinery that profits from loneliness will keep running. So what do? You become resilient. You develop yourself regardless of what's happening around you. You build a life that has value whether or not partnership shows up. You refuse to let a broken system define your worth. You work on your own issues, the emotional wounds that make you vulnerable to dysfunction. Heal them. The patterns that keep pulling you toward the wrong people, examine them. The neediness that makes you accept treatment you shouldn't accept, address it. Raise your standards while also raising your own value. Become the kind of person who attracts quality by being quality. And keep hope, not naive hope that ignores reality, but grounded hope that knows good people still exist even in a broken system. They're just harder to find. And here's the irony. Becoming someone who doesn't need a relationship is often the prerequisite for having a good one. Desperation attracts predators. Wholeness attracts partners. When you've built a life that's complete on its own, when you've healed the wounds that made you easy to manipulate, when you've developed the discernment to recognize dysfunction early, that's when you choose wisely instead of choosing desperately. The broken system makes this harder, but it doesn't make it impossible. And your outcomes are still shaped by your choices, even in an environment designed to make good choices difficult.
So, why does it feel like there are so many rude and greedy people in modern dating? Because the system rewards rudeness and greed. Because culture normalizes entitlement. Because economic incentives favor dysfunction. Because the old rules were destroyed and nothing coherent replaced them. Because everyone is operating from broken scripts they didn't write, and half the time they don't even realize they're reading lines. It's not that human nature magically changed overnight. It's that the environment shaping human behavior changed toward what serves profit, not what serves connection. Understanding this doesn't instantly fix it, but it changes how you move through it. Stop taking it personally. It's not about you. It's about a machine that produces these outcomes reliably and at scale. Stop waiting for the system to change. It won't. The incentives are too strong. Start building yourself into someone who can thrive regardless, someone who doesn't need the system to cooperate to live a good life. That's the real answer. Not changing other people, not fixing the whole world, not complaining about how things should be. Becoming someone who can navigate reality as it is. The man who builds himself into someone valuable, who develops emotional intelligence, who can recognize dysfunction and walk away, who has a life worth living regardless of relationship status, that man will either find partnership or be content without it. Either outcome is acceptable. The man who needs external validation, who falls for every manipulation, who accepts poor treatment because he fears being alone, that man suffers, whether he finds someone or not. The relationship becomes another kind of pain instead of a solution. And the question we started with, why are there so many rude and greedy women, turns out to be the wrong question. The right question is, what kind of system produces this much dysfunction? And once you see the answer clearly, you stop being confused and start being strategic. You're not fighting against women. You're not fighting against men. You're navigating a system optimized for profit rather than for human connection. And that's not hopeless, it's clarifying. Because when you understand the game,
You can decide how to play it or whether to play it at all. The system doesn't care about your happiness, so you build yourself, heal yourself, raise your standards and your values at the same time. Find the people who escaped the programming. They exist. And never forget, the dysfunction you're seeing isn't just human nature, it's manufactured, which means different environments create different outcomes. You can build those environments in your own life, attract people who resonate with them, and create something real, even when everything around you is trying to sell you something fake.